right? Sleep is also a requirement for human survival. If you don't get the proper amount of sleep, long term, you can end up with chronic health issues. It can affect your heart, your metabolism, your immune system. Short term sleep deprivation can affect your mental health. You can get irritable more often. You can have trouble thinking, learning, and have memory issues, but also hallucinations. That is the most common cause of people seeing demons. Have you ever had an experience with demons? If so, give us a call today at 984 400 5656 and let's talk.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.
Hey, okay. Good to meet you, Erin. We are finally doing a show together. How are you?
Nice to meet you too.
Very nice to meet you too. We only had just a few minutes to meet before the show. Generally, sometimes we get to chat with people, so we are gonna get to do that live in front of everybody, which is gonna be fun.
Perfect.
Yeah. So you are an author, right? That's about the only thing I know about you.
I am an author. I actually started writing shortly before I got involved with the secular community. And I had written my memoirs about my time as an exotic dancer, basically kind of a counter narrative to what I had seen. And I ended up becoming involved with the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And with them, I wrote a book on humanism, critical thinking, and skepticism, atheism, called Expose Yourself. And most recently, I write dark humor, horror fiction. My most recent series of books is about an atheist that goes to heaven and hates it because it sucks. God's a jerk, and he she basically tries to get sent to hell. She succeeds, but that's it. So now I run actually the Greater Sacramento chapter of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and I'm an occasional contributor to certain publications. Humanist.com is the most recent.
That's awesome. Okay, I like that book concept that you just talk about the woman going to heaven, the atheist woman going to heaven, and then trying to go to hell. Because when I don't know, when I've read the book of Revelation on the Bible, it's frightening. You don't want to go there. You don't want to go to a place where it's like the lobby of heaven, not even heaven itself. It's just like this guys just kind of chanting constantly, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord," and "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord" for all of eternity. That sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. And the angels without their eyes all over them. Have you heard about those?
So only in passing. So lucky for me, I grew up Catholic. And I grew up Catholic in the 80s in Southern California. And so like my version of Catholicism was more about like tax evasion and like functioning alcoholism. It wasn't really like, you know what I'm saying? Like Reagan was our Jesus, I guess. So I never read a page in the Bible.
Okay.
And so when I went to Sunday school, it was more just to keep me busy. And I mean, I don't know. It was just I very fortunate that I did not grow up fundamentalist religion. So I've still never read a whole page in the Bible.
Okay, that's good. You're lucky. You're very lucky. I mean, I grew up atheist, right? But then when I did get into religion as an adult, I get with the Bible, and like a lot of it was kind of worrisome. It does make you feel super guilty and super scared of like going to hell or all the punishment and all the bad things that you may be doing down here that will send you to like punishment for all of eternity. So it's a good thing that you didn't read it as a kid, or neither of us.
In fact, when I was a kid, because I'm 9 to 14 years younger than the rest of my siblings. I'm the last of 6 kids, like I said, Catholic. And so they had a more traditional religious upbringing than I did. And by the time I came along, I was so like removed from them that it was like they like baptized me and gave up. So I didn't do communion or anything like that, but I did still have a concept of God. But when I asked about hell, because I remember, hearing about that, even in church or Sunday school, you do hear about, you're a bad person, you're going to burn forever, and, Satan and like all this stuff. And it was scary to me. But when I asked, what I was told was, as long as you're a good person, you're going to go to heaven. But what inspired the book actually was hearing, that really the only requirement for getting into heaven really has nothing to do with being a good person at all. It has to do with begging for forgiveness, which to me really doesn't have a lot of like connectivity with ethics or morals or like, humanism or caring about other people. Just basically you have to say you're sorry and that you believe in all this stuff, and you're good to go. And I had read somewhere, heard somewhere that Jeffrey Dahmer is in heaven because he repented on death row. And I'm thinking, well, that really kind of craps on
Tracks.
what I was taught. I'm like, because I'm thinking that's a person that should probably go to hell. And then so then I started thinking, well, God's probably an asshole. Excuse my French.
Oh, you're fine.
My grandma was French Canadian, so I figure I can speak fluent. But so that was really kind of consistent. So I kind of like ran with that, well, God is this like sadistic narcissist, and so my Satan is really kind of the good guy.
Well, yeah, he does sound a lot friendlier, and I haven't heard him kill anyone, right?
Mm-mm.
So
No.
he's not genocidal, at least like God. He doesn't
Well,
drown babies.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing about, I guess, the Bible stories that I did hear when I was a kid, which are going to be the sanitized ones, but it's going to be like Noah's Ark, which you really can't sanitize like the shittiness of God out of that particular story. Because, and I've always been an animal lover, particularly cats, which is awful. If you read any of my fiction, it everything has a cat in it, so my bad. But I was always really into animals. That was kind of my thing when I was a kid. And my thought was he killed every single animal on the planet. And it was like, what did they do? What did they do? And then now you're talking about babies and kids. And it's like, you just start pulling that thread and it's like, dude, God's a dick. Like God is a real dick, So I guess for me, it wasn't, it wasn't really a hard choice to reject the concept of God that I grew up with.
Yeah, it's funny because I was reviewing like babies versus children versus adult Bibles recently, and we were looking at the vast difference of how the stories are presented, right? And on the babies and children's version, it's really really sanitized. Like they don't really mention, he drowned all the humans. It's just more like what he did that was positive, but you don't really think about the rest of it. So like, oh, he put two of each animals, and they did this, and then the birds came back, and then everybody was saved, and it was like happy ending, right? But you don't really think about what exactly does that entail, like whether even Noah's rest of his family, not just his wife and children that were on the boat. Like, what about everybody, the extended family, his parents, right? His siblings, his cousins. What happened to everybody? Why did he not warn them? Obviously, he probably couldn't, right? But like, that would be a horrible thing to have to do to your family, right? To like have them allow your God to drown them just because he picked you to be saved and only you. It's creepy.
For me, I would say with that particular story, I would have been little, and I was a huge pain in the ass, which is probably why they didn't try to make me go to church a whole lot, because I was restless. I moved around a ton, and I was constantly asking questions, and I tended to be pretty like persistent. So it really annoyed me and if somebody was bullshitting me, pissed me off, and like the whole. So God and all these stories and all these miracles, right? It's all magic, and this magic is real. But all the, when I'm like, well, can My Little Ponies come to life and I can really play with them, that's magic, how come that can't happen? So for me, it was kind of a logistical thing. It started with like, okay, the animals, but all I have a tendency to sort of extrapolate it all out. So I couldn't get past the God factor. So it never even occurred to me that Noah had family that he didn't warn or he didn't try to help. My thought was, here's this all powerful being who's supposed to be good. And number one, he's like murdering everybody. And number two, he could fix this without doing that. Right? He supposedly can do anything. He made everything. He's responsible for everything. He's got this big fat plan. So was his plan to make these people and then murder them? What are we, what are we actually talking here? So for me, I guess is when it came to the ethics and the morality of the story, the onus for me wasn't really on Noah. It was on God himself, because he's the one that basically set this whole thing up. So it once I got to that point, I guess the whole thing just fell apart for me, and I guess I just called it bullshit, or I stopped asking because people got really salty.
Yeah.
When you call God a jerk, it can be kind of a conversation.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen a time or two.
Right?
But so Catholicism is based on the triomni-God, right? Like he's all good, all knowing, and all powerful. So yeah, because so when you try to apply that to a story like Noah's Ark, it just falls apart. Because if he's all knowing, then he knew he will have to be doing that. Why did he not prevent it or fix it before? And if he's all good, he wouldn't murder babies or animals, right? And that are completely innocent to whatever wickedness was going on in the adult world. And he can't be all powerful because he didn't fix it in a good way, right? In the part of God that is supposed to be all good. So he can't be all,
or he didn't want to.
Yeah.
And he made the problem. He made the problem.
Right.
So he could have made nothing to fix, but he made that choice to do that. And so I think that's where I lost. Yeah, I just there was no more. There was nothing else there for me.
Yeah, there's no way to consolidate all three of them for him to be, good, knowing, and powerful, and still be this God that people praise. And one thing that always bothered me, and it still bothers me a lot when I talk to believers, is that, like you said, they haven't read the Bible while they are religious. The majority of people that I ask who are atheists are like, "Oh yeah, I've read the whole thing." But you ask a religious person, especially Christians. But I've had some Catholics say this as well, that they have not read the Old Testament, only the New Testament, because there's a new covenant and, so on and so forth. And so they only want to apply the part of the Bible that relates to Jesus. But Jesus is God, or at least partly God, and it's the embodiment of God. And it has to be the God of the Old Testament, the God that they're trying to avoid reading about because he's so terrible that it scares them to read about him. So it's like, how do they even balance that? That's something that's like, I'm always like.
But that is, I did not have a chance to stalk my co-host. But I did see some of your posts where you talk about brain stuff and logic. So that is something that is your expertise.
I don't have a degree on it. It's just like a special interest of mine. I just love talking about brains.
Yeah. No, I do too, actually. That was a lot of the research, or at least the reading I did when I was writing Expose Yourself, was a lot about neurology and psychology, and actually why and how people come to believe the things they do. Because I do find things like what you just said exceedingly interesting, is how we can hold such like two contradicting concepts, and when it's in your own brain, because I'm sure we all do that, right? We all have a sacred cow that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't, like, it just is something that happens. Like, I absolutely believe that when I'm talking to my cat and they meow back, we're having a real conversation, right? I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's something there. But when you see that happen in other people, when you see somebody, like you said, like, not basically compartmentalizing the Old Testament from the New Testament because it fits what they need it to fit. And from our perspective, it's like, well, that is I can't figure out how that works. But the truth is that secular or religious or not, we probably still hold conflicting beliefs. I think that's just part of one of the really interesting ways our brain works, is to be able to hold two things that basically don't make sense if you stick them together.
For sure. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit because I did want to talk about something related to that. But um, before we get into that, let's talk for a minute about New Year's. All right, we're almost at New Year's. The holidays are here. So, do you have any plans for the New Year?
Oh, do I have plans for New Year?
Yeah.
I do actually. Just going to a New Year's party. So
Oh,
an
fun.
event I tend to go to each year.
Okay, that sounds fun. Yeah, we're just gonna have a friend who's a friend and his fiance. They're gonna come over and I don't know, probably eat and drink and play music or something fun. Because we have a teenager too, so we'll do like something. We're not gonna get super drunk.
Mm.
It's just like have some fun, relax, and chill. Because everybody likes to play music here, except for me because I'm deaf and I can't do music. Like I have a cochlear implant, so I can listen to music and hear it, but we play it. I can't. I've tried to learn guitar. I've tried to learn the keyboard. I just can't make the connection of the notes and stuff. I guess my hearing is not perfect, so that that tracks. Um, so I recently was doing another show, and I don't know if you know Skeptical Scott, but he was saying that he no longer does New Year's resolutions because breaks them like within the first month, with that, which I think probably happens to everybody. Does that happen to you?
I stopped doing New Year's resolutions a long time ago. Basically because I figured if I'm gonna like make a change or change a habit and I'm making that decision to do that, then I'm just gonna do it. Like I don't really want to wait for a distinct time or reason. I mean, with exceptions, but yeah, New Year's resolutions in my experience has just come to that where I have this now. I have this like finish line, this like deadline, this where it's like, you know what, if I'm going to stop doing something, I'm just going to stop doing something. Like when I quit smoking 13 years ago. It was actually kind of weird. It was sort of out of spite, but it was like I made the decision and I said, you know what, dude, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore, and I didn't do it anymore. So
That's good. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's the same reason I stopped doing mine because I was like, you know what? It hasn't worked last year. It didn't work the year before. I probably still haven't met any of the resolutions that I made 10 years ago. So, like, I stopped. But so he was telling me he had this whole new sort of idea that I don't know if he came up with it, but I'm just going to give him the credit for it anyway. So it's called the one word challenge. And what he does is he picks a single word and he writes it down on somewhere. It can be like a coaster where you put your cup on, or like something to put on the wall. Whatever it is, you pick that word and you let that word sort of carry you throughout the year and remind you of what sort of your wish or your goal will be. Like when I did that show with him, I picked the word wanderlust because I was like, I really miss traveling and I really want to get back to traveling, even if it is like go on a short road trip 2 hours away or go hiking at the national park that's like an hour away. Anything that go downtown and explore parts of the city that I haven't seen before. Do something new, so, like see new places. And so I thought that's a pretty cool thing. Where it's not a deadline, right? Like because you carry it through the whole year and to remind you of what you want to do more of. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you had to pick a word, what would it be?
if I had to pick a word, it would be for next year. It would be this is going to sound terrible. It's going to be very revealing, but I'm just going to be honest. It would be calm.
Okay.
I've had sometimes I sometimes I'm pulled in so many different directions and I'm constantly like moving and I don't ever stop and I forget to just like literally stop and just calm down. So I would say calm
I
would be
feel
my word.
you. I am the same way. Like my husband always tells me, just take a break, go do something, go relax. I just can't stop moving. I'm constantly doing something. And when somebody's like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" Like I don't know, like I help a lot of organizations online with doing like social media and graphics and stuff, and I'm like, I'll do it. Just give it to me. I'll do it. I'll do it. And I'll just pile up so much, and I always have something to do. So I like calm. That's a good one.
Yeah, I've had to learn to delegate, um, and be comfortable with that, which is hard because I do feel like, especially when it comes to like the advocacy or the activist work. I took over the chapter just in August, and I have the best board of ladies who just cannot wait to do tons of stuff. But everybody has all these ideas, and because I'm technically the leader, it makes me feel like I'm basically responsible. So then I don't want to ask them to do things because I'm like, well, I don't want to put this on your plate. I'm just going to take it all on mine and then flip out. So I'm working on not doing that anymore. Oh,
Yeah.
I think we have a call.
Oh, good. That'll be fun. All right, let's take it. Let's see if we can get it on. Um, yeah. While we wait for that to get on there. Oh, it's Adrian. Okay, it is my body color. Let's see
Hey,
if we
what's
can
up,
hear.
buddy?
Hey, Adrian, how are you? I'm so happy you're calling today.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Good evening, wherever y'all at. Hopefully, y'all doing all right.
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Excited to be here with Erin. She seems very cool.
What's up, Erin? A pleasure to meet you, ma'am.
Nice to meet you.
So tell us, did you have any questions or do you want to tell us something about yourself or anything you want to ask?
AJ, straight up, full integrity intact, right? Like, I came really to like give you support since I see you all the time on the streets and stuff. And since I am like, I try the best I can to be a man of my word. So if I said I'm gonna try to participate in something, you know, this is why I came in and called in. I don't have a particular subject at all. This is just me, like just showing up, saying what's up
Yeah,
before
of
the game
course.
starts because my boys are playing tonight versus the Bears. I'm just saying. And so I'm
I
a
don't
big
do much sport,
fan.
so but good luck to your team.
Hey, thank you. Hey, we're gonna need it. It's gonna be a tough game. These Bears are doing their thing this year, so I gotta give them props. But it is Niners all day, all mine. Yeah.
Cool. So you know what? I do have a question for you because when we first started the
Oh,
show, right, we were talking about sort of like the intro to the show was about how humans require a lot of sleep, and that sometimes when people experience sort of supernatural experiences like seeing a ghost or seeing a demon, it may be related often to sleep deprivation, or it can be related to stress or severe hunger, severe dehydration. Any other things that affects the way your brain behaves can cause you to see things that are not quite there. Have you ever had an
mhm.
experience with ghosts or demons?
Um, and I'm again full integrity tech. I don't have to. I don't have no reason to lie to strangers at all, right? You know, respectfully. So when I say when I used to, and this is not something to brag about, but when I used to smoke crystal, right?
Hmm.
I say sleep deprivation was really a freaking, of course that was a
Oh
freaking
yeah.
thing that I had to deal with. So with that said, one experience that I had while I was in Mexico, right? A week straight, just up, no sleep, no nothing, right? Now, when I say shadow people, those that freaking, have experienced that, they would think that they see like shadows moving and stuff like that. So if I had to say from personal experience, if that was something something that I had experienced like, out of like a freaking like if I'm thinking it's a demon or whatever the freak that I saw during that experience, I would describe shadow people or something like that. That's what I would call it, but not no per se ghosts or demons or something like that. But yeah,
Okay, that's
right. So
no, I appreciate you being so honest and open about that. That's okay. I mean, addiction is an awful thing, but it's a human experience. Like there's so many people that are addicted, not just to drugs, but to so many other things. People can be addicted, I don't know, to food, to sex, to shopping, to all kinds of things. So don't feel ashamed
oh
over that.
wow.
You okay?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to multitask here to be honest, but yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, you're absolutely right. There's people that deal with different addictions and different types of traumas and stuff like that, and I know that could but I was just trying to answer the question as far as personal experience have if anything outside that I've seen, but outside of that, no, like. I do
So
believe that there are angels and stuff like that, but
if you were, so you are saying that what you saw as shadow people were not necessarily, you don't think they were ghosts. You think it was induced by drugs, which makes all the sense in the world. Have you ever seen or sensed anything or felt anything, particularly seen anything outside of that when you were sober or sober-ish or something that you couldn't explain?
nah, no.
Only
Okay.
that time, because I actually have had
Only
I
that
had an
time, and I do believe it was really again hella hallucinating, drug induced freaking sleep deprivation, all that combination in between. That's what I think made me see those things. So it could be my own self, but I don't think it was, something that been placed here or something like that. You know what I mean? Outside of that,
you don't think
if
it was anything
that's a better way
supernatural.
for me to ask the question.
You don't think it was anything supernatural though, right? What you saw?
No, no, no.
Okay, that's
Because
good. That's good. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't think a lot of people that do see things like that even need that type of chemicals. I experienced something when I was younger, what now they called it's called like the old hag syndrome, and it's something that you feel like, or you'll see something that's holding you down in bed and you can't move and you're like paralyzed. Um, and I had that happen to
Sleep
me, and
paralysis, something like
I was
that.
just sleeping. I'm sorry.
Sleep paralysis or something.
Yes,
I don't want to like.
sleep
I don't
paralysis.
want to.
Yes.
I don't want y'all to think I'm trying to disrespect when I keep interjecting and stuff like that. I really try to, because I got a crazy delay with y'all, so I am trying to make sure the conversation is kept up.
Yeah, you're
But,
okay. You're okay. There's
Miss Aaron, right?
definitely a bit.
Miss Aaron, AJ.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying that there's a bit of a delay, so no, you're okay.
Yeah, you're
I
all
don't
good.
think we're interrupting on
Oh,
purpose.
there
Yeah,
really
you're
is.
good.
But yeah, the sleep paralysis is a real thing. It convinces a lot of people that they are seeing ghosts.
Yeah. So
I know that
those.
I've seen something before I became a skeptic and atheist and all this stuff. I actually was a ghost hunter for probably around 15 years. And as I started to work,
What? Can I say, Miss Aaron, my wife is a huge freaking fan of Ghost Hunters with Zach and oh my gosh, all about the EVPs and all that stuff. I just want to say she's a huge fan of the Ghost Hunters. So I respect that. So,
I was so into it. Even after I left any concept of well, I probably still had a concept of like a higher power, the universe, spirituality thing, but But when I really kind of found my way into skepticism and was reading, I basically debunked every experience that I had ever had. And it was almost a crushing experience, to find an explanation for everything that I was so enamored with, that I was so like deep into, and it was so much fun. But like walking my way out of that was a tad rough. But I don't think, getting back really to your experiences, that I mean, that honestly sounds like the most rational thing in the world.
Yeah, so I was recently watching this little short, and it was a man that said that he was that he thought he had an addiction to pornography, right? But he was very religious, and so one day he was having a dream, and he was dreaming that this demon woman was trying to lead him into having sex with him or something. And so he says he wakes up and the demon is standing in front of him, and it's like really, really tall, like 9 feet tall or something like that. And he thinks that this was an experience that brought him closer to Jesus because, sort of Jesus protected him from the demon or something like that. But to me, it sounded, the way he described it sounded just like sleep paralysis, because what happens is when you are asleep, right, your body starts going through different memories in order to try to make them permanent or determine if it's something that you're not going to need, then it just sort of throws them away. That's a part of memory consolidation and why we need sleep, right? If we learn something that day, you want to sleep, be able to set it. Oh yeah,
again,
sure, go ahead.
Can I say I hella respect, like, because you're like a brainologist, right, or something like that. If I
I'm
may
not.
ask, what is your interpretation when it comes to one, dreams? Like you're saying, there are bits and pieces of memories, right? So that's one question, kind of a combination. And two, do you know the answer to deja vu?
To deja vu, I don't, but I would assume from my understanding is that it's something quite similar, where you're sort of experiencing something that is familiar, and so your brain automatically fills in and thinks that you've already experienced that. And as far as dreams, yeah, like like I was just talking about, like memory consolidation, and what happens during that time is like it's not flawless. It's not a flawless process, not project process, because the brain can get a little bit glitchy. And like, I don't know, think about like when you're dreaming, right? You can dream of something that's like you're in a house from your childhood, with a family member that you haven't seen in 10 years. Yeah. And then you look the same way that you look today. So it's kind of all mixed up. And what this does is it brings together all of these memories with the current memories that you have. And that's what dreams feel so bizarre. But when you drift into sleep, the brain goes into the mode that you're dreaming, right? The REM sleep, the rapid eye movement stage of sleep, which is when you're dreaming and all that. But during that time, your body can't move. And the reason for this, except for like basic actions like when you're turning around in bed and stuff, but the reason for this is because your brain releases chemicals to sort of weaken your muscles or almost paralyze you. Because if it didn't do that, you will be acting out your dreams. You will be constantly sleepwalking.
You'll be constantly running or something, for example, or trying to fight. Okay.
Right. Yeah. But the problem is that sometimes when the brain starts to wake up, but your body's still in REM sleep. So your body's still asleep, you could say. And that means that you can't move, even though you can see and you can hear. Like your body's still in the paralyzed state. And that's what sleep paralysis is. And during that time, because your brain is half awake only, you can still be dreaming. and you can see things that you're seeing in your dreams and you perceive them as being real or there. And I don't know if this is part of what could explain maybe some of that deja vu that we get sometimes. I wouldn't say that we are half asleep or anything, but like maybe we're going to some sort of mode that makes memories feel stronger. I don't know.
There's a comment in the chat actually that I think explains deja vu. There's a couple of books I've read. The most recent one was Thinking Fast and Slow. And he says, and this person says, I believe it's tracks with what I read, yes. Was that a lot of your thinking happens before you're actually conscious of the thoughts that are happening, like right up front. It happens up underneath. So if something, like you said, just like what you were saying, if something is it feels familiar to you, that may be because it's something that you've experienced, you're thinking, but it hasn't, hasn't come to the surface. It's happening underneath, like the vast majority of like processing happens underneath your conscious thoughts.
That just brought me up. I'm sorry, Erin. Like, no disrespect. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad. I just had a question, like straight from his thing that he put down. So shout out to you, Mr. Colors. I appreciate that. With what kind of bouncing off what he said, and I'm sorry, Erin. You can get off as soon as I get this out my head. I got ADHD. I ain't trying to forget. It's just what it is. Based off that and I had a conversation about this. What is the difference? So you're saying, does your subconscious help your conscious make your final decision, or what is a subconscious thought, intuition thought, and a conscious thought? How is that?
Your subconscious is basically driving the whole thing. So, most of your decisions, most of your thoughts happen well before you're aware of them. And it's based on your experience. It's based on, your knowledge, your previous memories, those things that are already stored like beneath. And yeah, I believe that stuff happens underneath before you're even quite aware of it. In fact, actually, that's sort of the argument I've heard against free will. The idea that we really consciously plot out all our choices, because a lot of them happen before we've a lot of that thinking, a lot of that processing happens before we're conscious of that. And like I said, and now I can't remember the name of the author, but Thinking Fast and Slow is a good one. And then there's a tad bit of a prickly author who has written some good things. Unfortunately, he's I don't know, he's not my favorite author anymore, but Steven Pinker wrote a book called How the Mind Works. And that book actually explains a lot of the processes that go on in your brain. However, he has become a little problematic recently. Maybe not recently.
So I would say the main difference between a subconscious behavior and a conscious one is that your subconscious one is kind of like autopilot, like automated, like you don't have to think about it. And a conscious one is the ones that you're aware of, that you put some kind of thought behind them, that you consider, right? Like if I'm like, my throat is dry, I need a drink, then I will grab a drink because I thought about that, right? But I don't know, if you're driving and you're sitting in the back seat with your kid and your husband stops really fast, and then kind of like before you even think about anything, you just automatically like stick your hand out to like protect your kid. That's like a subconscious move that you didn't even really think about. It just automatically came to you. So I would say that's sort of like the difference between conscious and subconscious.
Where does intuition fall in?
Same thing.
Yeah, I would say intuition is definitely more It's actually more of a brain process than when I've heard
More of a
the
brain
term.
process. Okay,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm listening. I'm listening. No. Go ahead. I'm listening now. This is me listening.
Oh, okay. No, so there's this part of the brain that we were discussing recently, and it's called the pineal gland, and it's kind of like what they used to call the mind's eye, but now we know the way that it works much better, and it kind of drives your automatic feelings about certain things, but it's always based on your past experiences, right? Like if you've had certain past experiences, then your gut feeling is gonna tell you to do certain things in a certain way. I don't know if you're someone that has had bad experiences with large dogs like myself, right? My immediate gut feeling to hearing a really loud dog bark will be to look around and try to make sure that I'm safe. Whereas before the dog attacks that I experienced, that wasn't ever a thing that was on my mind. So now it's like it's
What is the thing
reprogrammed
on?
my brain into like
Oh,
an yeah.
I,
So like
I,
your
I feel you on
intuition
that.
is based
Okay.
on experiences. Yeah.
I didn't mean. I didn't. Go ahead, Erin. And I know you was trying to get off something else before I got that question off of based on that super chat. I didn't want. I don't want to disrespect anybody. Like I'm big on disrespect because like if if I like to treat others the way like I would like to be treated. If I'm gonna treat you with the utmost, I expect the same thing. So if I did cut you off while I have that question in my head, I do apologize. I
No
do
worries at all.
No, you're good.
There's always a little bit of a delay, and so it can be hard to not cut people off.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, you've been great. I always, Adrian is someone that I've talked to before many times on the live chats, and he's always very respectful. He's a believer, but like we've never had any like negative experiences with him. At least not myself. So that's why I asked him to call because I was like, hey, it would be cool to have a conversation with him.
If I may break it down to you, Aaron, so like when you if you see me on like any other streams, because number one, I do plan on calling back Justin on round two. You know, what I mean, I do plan on calling them back, but I do hit up I do hit up all these other atheist streams. And let me just let you know, like when I first started, like I'm gonna keep it a stack. I wasn't trying to hear nothing from none of y'all. I was straight quoting. Look, we're gonna look up on some proverbs. We getting this. I'm hitting you with this and that. You know what I mean? But then, you know, a couple months later, after befriending some hella, in my eyes and and in my opinion, some hella cool atheists that I could see myself hanging out with, you know what I mean, like on some cool stuff, you know what I mean? I could see that. So I say that in saying that when it came to me trying to go hard on trying to be like, look, y'all, like you need to get your mind right, whoopty whoopty woo. Like I try to listen more and I do appreciate, some of them are coming from, whatever type of traumas, you know what I mean? Like they got somebody's come from XYZ or a abusive parent type situation. Like I respect all of that. So I'm not one of these believers that's going to be like, you know what I mean? I am going to say like, look, like this ain't no like, and AJ, I'm telling you too, like this ain't no deconstruction journey. This ain't no, nothing to that. You ain't gonna see Adrian be no apostate. That's just not gonna happen. But with that being said, I hope that I can build relationships with people that I can agree to disagree with when it comes to stuff, stuff about the Lord and stuff. So with that said, like that's my vibe. That's the energy I've been coming with since. And again, respect to the others that that support my journey and stuff like that. Like that they don't come to me no disrespectful stuff. Because they know I'm not playing with that. So But with that said, like, that's where I'm at, and that's my energy, Aaron. So so in case you see me in other circles, that's where I'm at.
Cool.
No, I appreciate that. And I will say that when I first started doing, being online and social media, and when I became active as a skeptic and an atheist, I don't know how confrontational I was. I know I wasn't very respectful, but I will say that now that it's been, let's see, since 7 years, I would not consider myself an anti-theist. I'm very borderline. I do believe that religion as a whole is a net bad. I think believing in things that are not true or holding faiths that that don't have any empirical evidence is not is really not the best thing for society as a whole. However, I know people that are believers, and where I draw the line is when it comes down to harm, be it to yourself or to other people. And if you're using your particular faith or beliefs to hurt other people or to justify hurting other people or yourself, that is where I really have a problem. I don't really get attacked all that often for my atheism, but one of the reasons that I'm really happy being in the activist sector as basically an advocate for the separation of church and state is because that really follows along with my values and my principles when it comes to protecting both believers and non-believers. Because we, basically it comes down to our Constitution. We all have the right to believe and think what we want to, and the right to be free. What we don't have the right to do is to encroach on other people's rights. And so when it comes to my activism and my speaking out, that's really where I'm at. Now, having said that, I have met believers in not just God or Christians, but believers in all sorts of things, from pseudoscience to crystals to homeopathy to, everything under the sun, where it does actually cause harm, where you have people that are taking massive amounts of supplements and then they have liver damage, or that you have people that are rejecting, medical stuff, or even people that are praying, or somebody who can't understand why their God, I don't know, let their kid die in a horrible way, or, it's when it starts to cause problems for people and hurt people is where that is really where I draw the line. So I have no problem being respectful, of course, if other people are being respectful to me. And I appreciate where you're coming from. But for me, belief in somebody having the exact same beliefs or opinions as me is not a deal breaker to hanging out or being friends.
Right, I agree. I have some family members. Yeah, go ahead,
Because
Adrian.
let me keep it real to you, Aaron. Like, and AJ, like, I don't seek approval from anybody. Like, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I'm 42 years old. Like, I'm gonna still do me regardless. You know what I mean? So that's that's still the same energy. So.
Well, yeah, that's what I like about you, because
Thank you for
I don't.
explaining that, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that about you, because like when we have discussions, or when I see you on the side chats, I've never seen you be preachy. Like, I've never seen you be like, "Oh, you gotta accept my God and this and that," or "You're gonna help." Like, I've never seen you do that. Like, you've always been very respectful, and that's what Erin just said. Like, that as long as you're having someone that isn't displaying any kind of hateful ideologies, or trying to hurt other people, or trying to force their religion on others, then I think we're going to be good. I do have family members who are Christians or who are Catholics, and we go out for dinner and we go out and hang out, and we don't even talk about religion. And I know that they're good people, that they're accepting, that they're not, they don't hold any kind of hateful ideologies that I am very much against. So appreciate that.
And speaking of books, and I know that I'm kind of a book nerd. I don't watch YouTubes or listen to podcasts or do a lot of that stuff. I really do read a lot. And one of the books, and he spoke at FFRF's conference in October is John Fusselgang. He wrote a book called The Separation of Church and Hate. And it was a hard listen as an atheist because he is really defending religion. But he is very much defending Jesus's words. So obviously the New Testament, that's that whole cognitive dissonance,
we're talking about, yes.
thing. So that part was hard, but he explained how it was.
Cognitive dissonance. I do hear that term a lot. Just saying on these streams, I hear that a lot.
Well, I mean, yeah, for me, when it came to debunking my ghost experiences,
the ghost be cutting you off. My bad.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out.
What I was getting at is, if you're looking for the good in Christianity, if you're looking for Christians who take a look at their religion as a whole, the principles that he really highlights as far as the Bibles are humanistic principles, and they do align with the principles of the Satanic Temple. They align with humanist principles. So I think when you have people that are using Christianity in particular in that way, and they are cherry picking it in that way, that they're not assholes. I have Mormon neighbors who it absolutely, they're in their 80s, so I'm certainly not going to confront them, but they're just the nicest, sweetest people in the whole world, as far as I know. I've known them for about a decade. I'm not going to turn them away because I think what they believe is weird and kind of silly, but ultimately they're good people. They've always been here when we've needed them. They're great. They're good people. But the Separation of Church and State is a great book, even for atheists to listen to, because it does help kind of soften that bridge between believers and non-believers. And like I said, because I'm currently really active in the Separation of Church and State space right now, that's kind of a huge concern as far as our country goes and as far as like division goes. So I'm looking to kind of be more comfortable in the realm of belief, even though a lot of times it does rather annoy me.
Yeah, because ultimately, if we have the same goal of separating church and state, and you have someone who believes in God and still wants to do that, then we are going to end up being allies at some point. I really enjoyed. I don't know if you know April A. Joy.
I'm one of them, for real. Like I absolutely believe in church and state. Like separation of church and state. Yeah, definitely big on that. Because like y'all sounded earlier, like not everybody believes in Jesus Christ. Not everybody's a Christian. So there's some Muslims, there's some Buddhists, there's some other religions, So we have to respect that.
Buddhism is fabulous. I actually, if I had to like choose a religion, it would probably be Buddhism. I mean,
Same.
if not Buddhism, but Buddhism is great.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I read another book called Secular Buddhism, which was really Buddhism without the supernatural aspects, and I was quite impressed with that. So that's what I've been reading instead of the Bible, which, by the way, is not going to end up in my to be read list because I don't want to. I learned everything I need to know about the Bible from atheists, so I'm cool.
That's good. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed Buddhism. When I've experienced anxiety before, and like their positive messaging of living in the present, and how living in the future gives you anxiety, living in the past gives you depression. It's like living in the present gives you peace. So it's like I really, really took that to heart, and it helped me so much with my mental health. So I do appreciate that about Buddhism.
I mean, I believe really my goal is I want to try to make it comfortable for believers and myself to instead of saying, I mean, even though y'all know I believe the word is a word, right? Like I would want to have seers like myself to just sit back and listen, probably learn something from a secular viewpoint on some things, because even though most Christians could say that, they want to have the full knowledge on the Bible and so forth. Like, and like I said, on the chat, or maybe I told y'all, like, I haven't read all of the Bible. Like, this journey of me getting all these translations and so forth, me getting diligent on the Bible, this is a recent thing for me. I've been hella backsliding. So this is just me trying to get my mind right and get everything in order in my household. You feel me? So with that being said, like, that is my hope. Like, when I go on these different streams and listen in, like, some atheists are contentious, and I'm not messing with it. But like y'all, like, I could engage. I could call in like another time, because y'all make it comfortable, at least for me, make it comfortable to go and listen to see where y'all coming from, and likewise without me getting too preachy, because I really don't need to be preaching with y'all. Like, I mean,
I think if there's one thing that might be helpful for you to understand when it comes to other atheists, and particularly the streams or podcasts or shows or whatever you're watching or wherever you're trying to get that other perspective.
Like, oh boy, Matt D, I called him on the line one time. Oh my gosh, oh boy, like, he got triggered on something. Like, he just say anything wrong. Us in this, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I'm not trying to hear none of that. I'll just tune you out and be like, all right, yo, peace. I'm throwing up my peace sign. I'm sorry to interrupt, Erin. Go ahead. But people like that, I ain't trying to mess with.
A lot of atheists, not myself, but a lot of atheists are people that have left religion, whatever flavor of religion, have experienced some sort of trauma or abuse or things like that have been justified by those beliefs. So, there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of people that need to find people that validate their experiences, because as an atheist or as a secular person, or what we're constantly bombarded with is how great religion is, how great belief in God is, how you must have this, you must have that. It's so great. And if somebody had a bad experience, it was like some kind of one-off. But you spend some time with ex-fundamentals of any religion, and it's truly some of the most horrifying stories you'll ever hear in your whole life. The worst kind of abuse, psychological, physical, sexual, you name it. It fucks people up for the rest of their lives. So when you are hearing that kind of anger and that kind of pushback against belief in any kind of a deity that frankly would allow these kinds of things to happen to somebody, that's where that's coming from. And I'm not saying that you deserve to be disrespected in any space at all, period. But if you are trying to understand a secular perspective or an atheist perspective, I think it's important to take a look and to see some of the harm that religion has caused, because it has absolutely responsible for abuse and a lot of pain in this world. So there's my rant. But it's horrible.
It wasn't a rant at all. Thank you. No, it wasn't a rant at all. I'm listening. Thank you.
But for me personally, even if at this point, from what I've learned mostly about other people's religion and not just history, and just outside of history and what's actually happened through religion when it's been in power or things like that, is just learning that these people believed that God was somehow coming to help them, when they're being raped or abused or beaten or lied to. And there is no God there. If there was an empirical evidence, if there was, God came down and shook my hand and I wasn't asleep and I wasn't on something, or I didn't have if it wasn't a hallucination, I knew for 100% fact that this is this deity that is coming down to talk to me, to convince me that he exists, I would spit in his fucking face. Because the harm and hurt that he's done to people that's not somebody I worship. And I don't give a shit what his plan is. I don't care what his justification is. It's not a moral thing. It's not an ethical thing. And it is a deity who, if it is indeed created everything and in charge of everything, it's a fucking dick, period. And it is, so even if God exists in how I know it, or how I've heard of it, how I've learned of it through other people, through other religions, if that particularly God exists and it's allowing right now, children to be wiped off the planet, but, I don't know, maybe they starved to death first. Yeah, fuck that guy, period. Like, end of story. So, the vitriol and what you're hearing on a lot of other spaces, they may be baby atheists. They may be people that are coming out of something that's been really awful, and they're looking for that community. So as a believer coming in and saying, hey, I still believe in this, that's a hard thing to hear from somebody that's coming from a space of abuse or, that kind of thing. So like I said, I don't think it's justified to take that kind of anger or hurt out on other people, but it's, they're in those chats or in those calls, they're watching those videos because they're looking to heal. And hearing about a God belief or hearing about somebody who has faith or great Lord or, how awesome God and Jesus is, that's an inappropriate place, in my opinion, to express that, because these are people that are hurting,
What do you think about that, Adrian? I have some thoughts, but I'm gonna let you go first.
No, I was going to respond and say like there's a lot of things that honestly, like, I don't know why they're in the Bible. Like, I don't know why children got to be harmed. I don't know why they had stuff that not okay. To be fair, and when it comes to women, stuff that not only is degrading to women, but there are examples of women that were also used in a good way as well. Okay, but back to the bad things that I was going to expound on. I don't have a concrete, like, all right, this is why God allowed this, or this is why God allowed that. I don't know why. So I don't know why stuff like that is allowed.
And you don't question that yourself? Like, you don't wonder that?
As in, like, it's the thing is, when it comes to, again, full integrity and tag, when people reference Old Testament to me and stuff like that, especially on the chats and everything else, and I want to be honest with them and be like, hey, I haven't personally read, I've heard like such story and such story. Like, I want to see it for myself. Like, I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion, like, respectfully about what it says until I see it with my own discernment and see with my own eyes and so forth. Right.
Yeah, I will recommend that you read the full book. Don't skip the Old Testament, please.
Oh, no. AJ, and I promise you, right? I just got done reading the book of Acts. The only New Testament that I haven't read yet is Revelation. I want to leave that for dead last, right? Today, I have started on Genesis 1:1, and I'm going straight from there. Keep in mind, I already had Deuterocanon canon books that I already read and stuff like that. Book of Sirach, Wisdom of Solomon, and so forth. When it comes to nerding, I love to read. I love reading the word studies, anything with words, since I'm good with the pen, I did my hip hopping back in the day, I'll say so. So anything with words, I'm all about, right? So I say that in saying, like, coming into the new year, when you came with that one word challenge, when I wrote down determined, right? I am determined to get my OT on, right? So when I do give a call back to Skeptic Haven, which you hosted, I could be like, hey, AJ, guess what I learned from X, Y, and Z, and then we can get more into the Old Testament. Because when it comes to New Testament, yes, I I don't I don't like saying apologetics. I mean, like I said, I'm not big on theology of uh uh what physiology, theology, all that crap. Like I'm not. I just read, right? And with that said, like once I'm really big, I wanted to start off on the New Testament. So when it comes to New Testament stuff, yeah, I could get verses here and there, even some, especially on the Proverbs. Even I got verses with the OT too. But I wanted to say I'm not about apologetics or nothing like that. I keep it 100. I'm too real. Again, like I have no reason to lie at all. Like I don't play with my integrity. So if I say like I'm gonna start doing something or say I'm gonna do something, that's just what it is.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to
You will be on that OT, AJ. Hold
it.
me to that. All right? Yes. I know y'all got some other callers though, I'm sure, and it's tied at my game right now. I'm not liking these Bears tying up with my Niners, right? I'm not liking this. This was a great and freaking. I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot when it comes to the subconsciouses and just the mind in general, and I respect that. And thank y'all for making this a comfortable conversation.
Awesome.
Right? So
Look
y'all
forward
definitely
to.
will get my call back.
All right, cool. Yeah, I
All
look
right?
forward to talking to you sometime again. All right, you take care, and thanks for calling.
Excellent. You too
Nice
yourself,
talking to
Aaron.
you.
Pleasure meeting you again.
Bye bye. Well, that was fun. That was good.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Yeah, that was
Sometimes it's just
interesting.
nice to hear somebody else say the word hella.
Right? Yeah, I like. Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, he's from
Like that.
California.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, everyone is very respectful always, and I'll say that I haven't gotten into any very deep, theological sort of arguments with him yet. But we'll see. After he reads the Bible, I'll look forward to having a more in-depth conversation to see what he thinks about all the stories and the things that we were talking about, whether Jesus is the God of the Old Testament and all of that, all of those questions I always want to ask theists.
I will be very, very curious to talk to him again when he starts reading other books that aren't the Bible.
Oh yeah, very, very true. That's true.
I
Yeah,
suspect that will be
for
very
sure.
helpful.
So I always say I have this sort of hypothesis that that the vast majority of people come out of religion who were raised religious in childhood during their college time. And that's because, first of all, they are no longer under the influence of their parents as far as religion goes. And then they have more freedom to explore whatever, wherever their own beliefs are, right? And rather than being, than holding on to the ones their parents gave them. And also because they're exposed to more books than the Bible, more science, more culture, like people that are different than them, people who have a different skin color, who speak different languages, who are, have different gender identities or sexual orientations and stuff like that. And so they're exposed to a lot more than the bubble that they were exposed to as children or young adults, I guess, like before they go to college. And I don't know, it's just something I've noticed that so many of the people that I meet, and I'm like, hey, when did you, tell me, when did you stop? And it was just like, well, I was learning about this and I was learning about that. And I started questioning. So
I don't know if you've read any of the autobiographies of some of the pastors that run some of the secular organizations. Recovering from Religion, Dr. Darrell Ray, his story is very interesting. Dan Barker, the co-president of Freedom from Religion Foundation, was a pastor. And the other one that I'm thinking of is Dave Warnock.
I love Dave.
So if you read their stories, it really tracks with a lot of what you said, where they become exposed to other people, And in Dan's case, who's just about like one of the nicest people on the face of the planet, so is Daryl. Daryl's Dr. Daryl Ray is a little more of a spitfire than Dan. But
I have one of his books. I still haven't read it, but it's quite a bit.
God, read it like right now. Like shut everything down, read it. It's really good. That actually impacted a lot of things for me from dancing was Daryl Ray's book, because I was able to recognize some of the behaviors and some of the things that I saw in the strip club were kind of actually very much related to religion. So when you see how much,
which book was it? Because I have the one, the God Virus is the one that I have.
God, I haven't read the God Virus.
Okay,
but his Dan Barker's story in particular coming out of religion was he was like a preacher and he did music. He's actually coming to Sacramento next month and we got him a venue with a piano so he can play.
Oh, I've seen him play in person. He's good.
Yeah. And he's, like I said, he's like possibly like one of the nicest guys ever. But he really brought that with him from preaching, and he was traveling around, and as he met more people, he was exposed to more people. While it wasn't college and it wasn't science, he was exposed to people who had just slight tweaks to their religion. So every time he would meet people, he liked them and he wanted to, he didn't want them to go to hell. And because he wasn't changing their beliefs, he changed his beliefs. So he started incrementally incorporating other people into his belief system because he wasn't able to cut them off and hate them or, whatever. And then at some point he got, he stepped all the way out of it. And he was like, he's up there preaching and he's like, fuck, I'm an atheist. So, but his story is really, really great to read. I believe it's called Godless. But that really tracks with what you're saying. I think it's as people become more exposed to different things. I think for me, my religion was just so squishy. It was so like malleable. There wasn't really much. It was like, be a good person. So like God for me wasn't super hard to let go. I felt more duped. Like when I found out Santa Claus wasn't real, I felt like it was like a joke. And everybody was laughing at me like, haha, you believe this bullshit. I was like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah,
that's not nice. That was my take on it. But yeah, people that have come out of some real fundamental religion, their stories just, some of them are just like a gut punch.
Isn't it
just
interesting
to talk to somebody
though?
face to face.
Yeah, that's true. But isn't it interesting though that when we were like, I don't know, some during the teenage years, some a little bit earlier, they realized that Santa isn't real, and we just let go of the magic and let go of the supernatural belief of this man, that travels in a carriage in the sky, but we keep the other men in the sky and don't connect the idea that
that's where a lot of it is, where you just pull the thread. My son, I think he was 5 when he actually came up to me and told me Santa wasn't real.
That's young.
Well, he's on the spectrum, so he's very literal, which is fabulous. Actually, I think he's going to be a comedian. I hope he's going to be a comedian. He should be a comedian.
Oh, that's good.
He's like 20 something now.
Oh, okay.
But he was watching VeggieTales, and I used to let him watch that because it wasn't really an issue. He was raised secular, whatever. But didn't he got to one part and they explained that Santa had lived hundreds of years ago or something like that, and he comes up to me and he goes, Mom, Santa can't be real. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like 5. I've all his presents written from Santa, ready to go. And he was like, well, Santa's dead. He's like, that guy's dead. There's no way he's alive right now. And I was like, oh, well, yes. That's very true. So I explained it to him as a game we played and all that kind of stuff. And then I said, don't tell anybody else, please. I said, that's not, just so, obviously he went and told every other kid his age he knew because that's my kid. But for me, like the biggest injury when it came to Santa Claus in particular was that I felt lied to. I felt like it was a joke that was played at my expense. And it wasn't hard for me to make the leap to, well, God is obviously just Santa for grownups.
Right, yeah, because it's kind of like the same idea, right? Like he does sort of these magic tricks where he somehow gets gifts to billions of kids in one night. I mean, you gotta be some type of magical to do that. And God kind of does the same, right? He like bestows miracles upon people or answers their prayers or not, depending on which how properly you pray and stuff, right? How hard you beg, I could say.
Well, and I
So
think too that that period in where Santa is not real anymore, but God still is sort of, your first experience with cognitive biases, because at that point you're very much choosing what to believe and what not to believe when they're really both based on bullshit.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
super
I don't know,
interesting.
maybe it's as puberty hits and you start to get, into that young adulthood and all that stuff, that it's just easier to reason. I know a lot of the reasons, or at least I think a lot of the reasons I held on to any type of higher power belief for as long as I did, probably into my 20s, was really kind of the social aspect of it, because saying that, saying you don't believe in Santa is cool. Saying you don't believe in God is like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? You don't really know what kind of reaction you're going to get.
Right,
So
right.
it's,
Especially with family, or if you have very close friends who you know through the church, or you have a big supportive community through the church, it's really, really hard to feel like, the outsider. And I think that
it's
was one
easier
of
to
the
just,
pressures. Yeah, it was one of the process for me to get into religion because I came from Argentina and I was like, where I grew up, it was a rural area. We didn't have a church. There was like one school and one store growing up until I was like 15. And so moving here was like a culture shock. And we did move into a religious family's home for a little bit until we got settled. And so it was like religion overload within just a few months. And I think I didn't become religious right away, but I started absorbing the idea of us, this creator and God and all of this belief and believing in ghosts. So when I got pregnant, and we were told my baby had a heart defect and that was potentially fatal, and I was like, my husband's family was like, we should go to church because they killed the baby and stuff like that. I felt like right away, having had that experience of being exposed to religion when I was at that age of like between 16 and 20, where it's like your learning stage. I think it was super easy for me to believe like, oh, okay, yeah, there is a God. If I believe in ghosts, then I have to believe in souls, then I have to believe in God. And so that's how, but surprisingly I came out of religion for the same reason, like it. But it was way down the road. After about 10 years or so, they had their second open heart surgery when they were like 9 years old. And then I was like, what kind of God does this to like a child, right? I was just sitting there next to their hospital, but it was 2020, middle of COVID, and just sitting there like watching your kid not even being able to speak from the pain. It was like, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking, and it was the thing that snapped me out of it. Like I couldn't sit there and pray because I was like, what am I praying for exactly? Like, why did God put my kid in this situation in the first place? So yeah.
sorry that you went through that. I I had a nephew that had cancer. He was diagnosed when he was 2, and he passed when he was 8. And
Oh God, I'm so sorry
really,
about that.
that was
That's
really
really bad.
I wasn't close to him, so it wasn't like it wasn't like my child. But my family went through a lot of that. We'll pray and we'll pray, and then it was like, well, what, did you not fucking pray hard enough? Or this was his plan.
Or punishment. I'm like, wait, punishment for me?
Right?
Punish
Like,
me
oh,
physically, right?
he's in heaven now. This was God's plan. Okay, so God's plan was for him to spend, 3/4 of his life going through really horrible treatments so that he could die toothless and hairless and with like open wounds. Like, that's God's plan. Like, fuck that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no, and that's when I started, because I had a stronger belief in ghosts, just like what you just said. Like my what I really started looking for when I started to read science, and when I started to actually look in this, because I was coming from a point of grief, was evidence for a soul. Because I said, if I was thinking, if souls exist, then heaven probably exists, or at least he's out there someplace. And that was how I ended up debunking ghosts, was by looking for that. But I'm sorry you had that experience.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, he's doing great now, but like, we'll still need further heart stuff, right? Heart care. But we're lucky to be in Texas, which has like the best cardiac hospital in the country. So, well, lucky to be in Texas.
That's
You know what I mean?
ironic, but I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. So it looks like we have a call. It appears, Michael, and Michael says,
Hello, how are you all
"Oh, hey,
doing? That was a very what did you say? I'm sorry.
oh no, I was just reading the description that said that you were calling to share why you believe in God, and that is because your father's military story. So please go ahead and share with us."
Yes. I just like to first touch on like the very touching story you shared about like a child dying of cancer. I definitely feel that because I had a number of family members die of cancer, and I very much feel your anguish and your sadness. Like, why did God allow this child to die of cancer? But one of the things that I realized as a Christian is that God allowed his own son to die. And he felt the anguish of a parent losing a child. And that's the thing. Like when Jesus Christ died, like people were like, oh, this person died. He must have been a failure. Like, what was the meaning of his death? But through his death, we found eternal life. Through his temporary death, we found eternal life. And, my father, he almost died. And my father is not particularly a religious man, but I always remember like what he told me. You see, in the Gulf War, my father was blown out of a helicopter and he landed feet first and broke both of his legs. And the pain was so excruciating that he fell unconscious and he was in a coma for a couple of months. And alas, he only woke up to the prayers of my grandmother. And he woke up to the prayers of my grandmother and he said that he seen God. Right before my grandmother prayed for him. And that's what really got me into the faith. And at present day, my father is not particularly a religious man, but I still remember that, the miracle that God gave to my family. And at present day, I have two aunties that are dying, are dead of cancer. And my auntie Renee, she beat cancer and then decided to stick to smoking again and then got cancer again. And stuff like that really shows us to how like addictive we are as human beings to sin and to do wrong rather than to do good and to rebel against what we know is good for us, which is God. Like, I really feel bad for my auntie Renee, and I really wish she beats cancer again because God already gave her a chance the first time and actually did what my auntie Pat couldn't do and beat cancer, only for her not to change her ways and to turn against God and to smoke and then get cancer again. And I've seen her and she's looking very bad and she's in her 70s and I'm afraid she won't pull through. So a lot of times, like the same pain that we feel is the same pain that God felt. And when it comes to like issues like childhood cancer, a lot of times the children will die in order so the parent could be inspired to like fight cancer.
Okay.
And, all
Can I
this,
interrupt you right there?
go
Because
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
that is very, very highly
Vile.
problematic. So if I sacrifice my child today, and for whatever reason, I don't know, poison them or something, does that make, because, and then I feel
I'm
the
sorry, what
pain of
did
my
you say?
child dying? Oh, I said, if I sacrifice my child by poisoning him, and then, I feel the pain of losing that child, does that make it okay for other children to die simply because I felt the pain of my child dying?
Well, here's the thing: the cure to poisoning is not to take poison. Like, I think it's a difference between intentionally, like if you take your child and then you make him smoke 1,000 cigarettes to get
But,
cancer, just
but
so you can
God,
feel the stress. That's a
you,
different.
you
Hold
said
on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you said yourself that God killed his son for us. So he did it on purpose. So what is the difference if I do it
Yes.
on purpose and I still feel the pain?
Well, the difference is that you're intentionally like killing your. I don't even know why you would poison your child.
Why did God kill
I
his
don't know,
son?
like, pardon me?
I say, why did God purposefully kill his son?
Well,
Nobody asked him to. I
well,
didn't ask
God,
him to.
well, God sent His Son down to die for our sins, to be a personal representation of how our sin harms us. Jesus took the harm for us. Like, let's just say, like, I have some family members that are criminals, right? Like, they did a lot of bad stuff. And many times they have gotten pardons, right? They have gotten pardons for their crimes. Now, the pardon does not erase the crime per se, but it shows that they have remorse. You don't think that anybody who gets pardoned for their crimes got away with the crime, right?
Depends.
I
Depends on what.
I gotta
Depends on what.
say something because I'm really.
I can see you have words.
Oh yeah, I have so many words.
This is a lot.
So the first thing I'm going to say is that
Go ahead. Speak.
this God, throughout history, so He created the world. So throughout human history, this God has watched every single murder, abuse, sexual perversion of every
Assault.
child that's ever happened. So is that some kind of lesson? And if that's some sort of lesson for somebody, and that is the way that He actively chooses, because He controls everything, He made everything, He set all this shit up, and He's actively choosing to use that as a vehicle to teach people a lesson, to use children as a lesson, children in extreme pain as a lesson for the parent, that's fucking vile. Period.
To inspire. Not just as a lesson, but to inspire.
To inspire. Oh, that's what I need, right? A kid with open fucking lesions. That's not inspiring. That's fucking disgusting. It's immoral. It's unethical. Flat. And here's the thing: God made me this brain.
Well, wait.
He gave me the faculties to understand ethics and morals and how to treat other people, and that hurting people is bad. Period. So He gave me the tools to judge somebody actively hurting a child. No matter, and I don't care what the reason is. There is no justification. There is no reason for that. To deliberately hurt somebody. God didn't have to kill his own kid. God didn't have to make his own kid. He didn't have to kill his own kid. He didn't have to make the idea of sin. He didn't have to do any of that, but He did. He did. And if that is the case, and that's true, that is something that's true, and you believe in that is something, somebody came down and He did that, and He set all this up, that is not something that is worth worshiping. That is evil itself. Period. You don't watch every single kid getting raped by some authority figure or a parent or being hurt by somebody. That's not, there is no justification for that. There is no excuse for that in my mind. There is no good reason or purpose that happens at all. When somebody has the chance to intervene, either stop it or make it not a thing in the first place. But that's not what we're talking about here. And it is like what is said in the chat, like what we said in the chat. And if you're looking at the chat, what you are doing right now is apologizing
I'm looking at the
for
call-in
child
screen.
harm. You are
I can't see the
excusing
chat.
childhood cancer. That's what you're doing, excusing in childhood cancer. And I'm happy that your father's military story is something that was good for you. But know right now that God is watching a child starve to death, and their parent is praying over them.
Feed the child.
Period. There is no fucking justification for that at all. End of fucking story. There just isn't. And you know what? Honestly, this is the first time that I've actually gotten really angry. But this is the first time that I've had somebody like say something like this, and I can hardly fucking believe that it's coming out of anybody's mouth.
I know. I'm a little bit shocked because you just shared a very, very personal, harmful story of your nephew passing away from a cancer, and then all of a sudden, oh, you know,
it was actually my niece.
It's to inspire the parents.
Actually my auntie. It was actually my auntie, not my nephew. But my auntie Pat died of cancer, and that makes me inspired to fight cancer rather than just mope around and be like, "Oh, life is unfair," like, "Oh, woe is me." Like I'm not gonna mope around.
I don't have anybody in my family that has died from cancer. I only know one child that's died that I've known him personally, but I still support and I donate as much as I can. What does that I'm just trying to say that I don't need to know the pain to support the cures for childhood cancer. I support the organizations that do that because I don't want any child to die from cancer, because I don't need to see a child to die from cancer in order to be like, hey, I don't want kids to die from cancer. If that's what you need as inspiration, I just say them? I support them by doing things for the organizations that there's an organization called Live Like Bella, and their child passed away from cancer, and they do a lot for research. They are from Miami, and so I support them with their social media. I donate as much as I can. Yes, I don't have all the money in the world. I wish I did. I wish I could support all the organizations.
You support that any cent counts, but do you support them like with your labor, like put in work, put in money and stuff like that?
That's right.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So I just like to say, like, a lot of people are harping on child this, child that. Any sort of suffering is sad. If
God can fix it.
Senior suffered, if an adult suffered, if a child suffered, suffering is bad. And many times, to put the me in empathy, you have to go through it. Like, when it comes to me, I was unemployed for 8 months. I had my family literally, I couldn't find a job. I had my family tell me to my face that I was lazy and I was a bum and I'm nothing. Then I found a job and suddenly they're happy-go-lucky. They're like, oh, yay. But now, since that happened, I will never look down on somebody who's unemployed. I will never believe the lie that they just don't want to find a job, because it happened to me. So
That's
many
good,
times, stuff has to happen to you. Shit have to happen to you in order to put the me in empathy.
Sometimes,
And
but not
a lot of
always. That's
times,
not a
people who
consistent.
go,
That's
okay, it's hard for
insane.
me to
I
understand
spent
what you said. What did you
I
say?
spent I said that's you don't have to experience something to empathize with it. That's literally actually not what the word empathy means, number
It
one.
helps.
And number two,
It helps.
like, so you're right. It does help. It helps. If I stub my toe
It does help.
and just like somebody else, I know what that feels like. But I tell you what, man, I spent a weekend with survivors of religious trauma as a speaker. I spoke out about, I'm speaking about sexuality, which honestly just is nothing compared to what some of the other people were going through. But I haven't been through religious trauma. I didn't have my religious father abuse me or beat me, or I wasn't taught that I didn't have a fear of hell. I never had a fear of hell.
Well, you're
I've never been
absorbing their
beaten.
trauma.
But I tell you what, no, but I
You're
tell you what,
absorbing their
man,
trauma.
you want to know what makes me what that spurred me on when it came to being an activist. Number one, for the separation of church and state, but number two, to make sure that people that are coming out of religious trauma, which I did not experience, have a safe place to land. So I support both financially and when they need fundraisers recovering from religion. I literally run an entire chapter for the separation of church and state, which supports ex-fundies as well as protects both
Well,
believers and non-believers. I support all
can I say
sorts of things
something?
that I have not experienced myself. That's ridiculous to say that you so the only way you would support a cancer charity is if you've gone through cancer yourself. Frankly, that makes you sound like a selfish jerk.
Hold on, that's not my
now
point.
Finished
That's not my
talking.
point.
Now you can talk. Okay, what is your point?
Okay, cool. I'm glad that you allowed me to talk. Okay, so number one, cancer is a little bit extreme. Cancer is a little bit extreme. I'm not saying that you need to have cancer in order to have empathy for a person that has cancer.
You kind of did say that.
My point is that I'm responding to what she said. My whole point is that there's different types of empathy. It's easier to have empathy for somebody that has cancer, but many times it's hard to have empathy for the bum on the street. Because before I was that bum on the street, I kind of look down on people. So that's just me. I'm just making it personal towards me. So I'm not. So if you have empathy for somebody who has cancer, congratulations. You have like a very easy like empathy path. But I'm saying like there's different types of empathy. Of course, it's nobody's fault if they have cancer. Well, actually, no. If you smoke, then you have cancer. Then it's kind of your fault. But on average, it's not really anybody's fault if they have cancer. But many people feel like it's their fault if you're poor and you're impoverished. Like lick up your boots and go get a job, or pull up your bootstraps and go get a job. And much of the time, I had that mindset. And many people would have this mindset all throughout their lives until they went through some shit. And I just like to say, it's great that you believe in the separation of church and state, but many states that had no religion whatsoever still hated gay people.
There's
Cuba
no
hated
state
gay
that doesn't
people.
have
The
any religion whatsoever.
USSR,
Like that's
the
not even a thing that
USSR
exists.
hated gay
Literally
people.
not a thing that exists. What you just stated.
Wait. So Cuba didn't hate gay people?
No, are we talking about the states like the United States? There's religion in every single state.
You're talking about a whole population.
Yeah.
In Cuba. There's no religion in the USSR. They ban religion.
Okay, but listen.
China.
Here we are. All right. You are trying to say that people without religion don't have empathy. And here you are telling us right away that you did not have empathy. Then what are you talking about Cuba and the USSR not having? Okay, so explain, what do you mean by, well, the USSR and Cuba don't have religion and they hate gay people. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so So they were atheist states. You can look this up. They were atheist states that still persecuted gay people because
Okay.
the point about bigotry is that it's not religiously based necessarily. It's about the person. You can be a bigot and hate gay people and still be an atheist. You can be a Christian. You can
I
be
agree. We
Islamic.
agree
I
there.
know that you two probably have a religious rose-colored glasses and think like all homophobes are religious people when there are homophobic people
I
that are
don't.
atheists. Like
No,
Tay,
trust
I
me.
know some of
Look,
them.
hold up a second. This whole past week, I've been having a really big argument with a person in the atheist community who's being extremely transphobic. There are transphobic
who's being
and
extremely
bigoted
homophobic.
atheists.
Did you say homophobic?
Transphobic. But yeah, same thing, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a difference between transphobia and homophobia, but
Yeah, there's.
I'll let somebody much more detailed explain that. But it's very. I mean, until recently, people really didn't care that much about trans people like that. But there's always been heavily homophobia. Like there was homophobia in Cuba, homophobia in USSR, in all atheist states. Well, except for a few of them, there was homophobia. There were laws that were killing them. Like you can look this up in the USSR.
No, nobody's arguing
banned
with you
atheists.
there. What is your point?
I don't know
There's
exactly where we are
plenty
going
of.
with this.
I
We were
personally
talking about
know
empathy.
atheists that are homophobic. There's no. You're not making a point here. There is no.
We
Yeah,
say that we agree
Yeah.
that homophobia and
Okay,
bigotry
we can
is
agree on this.
everywhere.
Good.
It's not necessarily a religious thing. But we were talking about empathy here. We were talking about.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I don't know how we got here.
Okay, cool. I was just pointing it out for maybe not you, but maybe for your audience that just because you see most people who are bigoted be religious doesn't mean that religion caused bigotry.
No, I
Humanity
don't see
causes
that at all.
bigotry. Like, you
I
can
don't
be
even know where
religious.
you're getting that from. I don't think that
Pardon me?
religious people are necessarily bigots. Not at all. In fact, earlier in the show, we were talking about how people can be good and be religious. There's plenty of progressive churches out there. In fact, we are actually looking to make sure that we're partnering in, like with my own chapter, to make sure that they understand that we're protecting them as much as we are
You're part
our
of
own
a church?
non-beliefs. So no, that's ridiculous to think that. And actually, I might dare to say it's pretty bigoted for you to make the assumption that atheists view all religious people as bigots, because
We
I know that there's a
literally.
ton of atheist people that do not
Some
look at people
atheist
that way.
people do. Some
You're
atheist people do.
correct, and some religious people do. So point
Yeah.
discussion ended. There's no more debate
Wait,
here.
some
We
religious.
agree there. What was
Hold
your
on.
point?
Some religious. Let me clarify this. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Hello? Okay, cool. So you said just to clarify, because you were very speedy. You're saying that some atheists believe that like all religious people are bigoted, or because you were like very speedy with your words. I'm trying to clarify.
I don't think.
No,
that's what
I don't
you're
think, honestly,
saying.
I don't think religion has anything to do with bigotry, or very little to do with bigotry. I think people
Okay.
decide to be
Okay.
bigots on their own. Now, where I was questioning you is your statement, which you did say, and then you walked back, that you had to go through something to empathize with it, which is not the case. And I think that's where you started to get muddled with this whole religion bigotry thing. But atheist, the word atheist literally just means no theism. So there's no, we just don't believe in a higher power. There are atheists that are transphobes and homophobes and racists. There are atheists that are complete fucking dickheads. I have a Mormon couple, I don't know, a few hundred feet from me, who are about the nicest, sweetest people I've ever met. We exchange Christmas cookies every year. They give my son, who's celiac, this year they gave him a whole pack of gluten-free Oreos because the lady was the cutest thing. Because the lady had just discovered that that's what they were, and she knew he couldn't eat the cookies, so she wanted to make sure he had a treat. I mean, there's tons of people. I think one of the most confusing and upsetting things about people feeling like they have to believe in some kind of supernatural deity, religion, or some shit to be a good person is ridiculous, because there are atheists that are also just as nice as that freaking Mormon couple right down the street. You know what I'm saying? That has nothing to do with it. If you're a good person, you're a good person because you care about people. It has nothing to do with what you believe. You can believe in freaking unicorns. You can believe in aliens coming down to suck your brains, or adrenochrome, or whatever the fuck you want to believe in. If you're a good person, that means you care about other people. It has nothing to do with what you believe in. And if you need a God watching down on you to make sure that you're a good person and you're not murdering and raping people, that says a lot more about you than it does about your belief system.
Well, if you want to be a good person, or if you want to believe that good people exist, don't be a Christian, because Christianity says that we're all sinners and we're all fallen and we're all tainted.
Oh,
There's
look, we
nobody
found something else we agree on.
That's why we're atheists, I guess.
Perfect.
So wait, atheists believe that all Christians are tainted and not good?
Nah.
No, we believe that you believe that, and it's ridiculous and it's harmful and it sucks. Who the hell wants to grow up thinking that they were
So
born
you don't
fucked
believe
up?
that? Hold on. So you don't believe that all people are somewhat tainted?
Tainted
not
by
so
what?
good?
I think that people are human beings, and I think they're flawed. Do I think they're tainted from birth
So
because
could
some
somebody, hold on.
chick ate an apple in some pretend book? No, I don't. Do I believe that all
Well, there
people are
was a
tainted?
forbidden fruit,
No,
but hold on.
that's
Let's circle
ridiculous.
back. Let's
To
circle
believe
back.
that all
Hold
people
on.
are tainted.
You're saying a lot of stuff.
Sorry. That's
Can
why
we
I'm
circle
right.
back?
I don't believe that
sorry.
there
I'm
is
sorry.
I don't believe that there is a perfect human being. It doesn't mean that I believe they're born sinners or bad or tainted in any way. I just think that people make
So
mistakes that they learn.
you don't believe that people are, because to be a sinner just means that you're not perfect. Like, that's what it is. To be a sinner just means that you're not perfect. So you don't believe that
No, that's
as
not
humans,
true.
you're born.
Because sin
does.
has a very specific
Christianity does.
meaning.
Pardon me?
What does sin mean to you? What is the word? How do you define the word
It
sin?
means missing the mark. Sin means missing the mark.
Missing a mark? Whatever. I don't think
Yes,
that's what that
missing the
means.
mark. That's
What?
what sin means. It's breach for missing the mark.
Okay, I think you have the definition a little bit wrong there. All right, this is from the Oxford
Okay, what is
Dictionary.
sin to you? Could I ask you what is sin to you?
I'm pretty
What
sure
has
there's
been?
7
Oh,
deadly
I
ones,
am.
right?
I
What
am
about those?
attempting to tell you what sin is. So listen for a second.
Tell me
I'm
what
reading
it is.
I am about to tell you, Michael. Just take a deep breath for a second and listen, because I'm about to tell you what sin means to me. And sin, and I agree with this definition I'm about to read from the dictionary. Sin is an immoral act considered to be transgression against divine law. So you have to break a biblical or divine law in order to sin. So by being born a sinner means that you already broke a divine law. How? How do you break a divine law at birth?
Okay, these beeps are really annoying to a person who got autism. I got autism, but
Okay.
there's
I don't hear
thousands
anything.
of ways to break a divine law, and I mean, you could be greedy, you can be angry. Jesus Christ says, if you're angry with a person, you have murdered them in your heart. Have you ever been angry? Well, yes, you have.
I am asking about a newborn. How does a newborn, by the act of passing through the birth canal, how does that cause them to sin?
I mean, well, usually when a newborn like is born, usually they are born angry. Like when I was born angry. I was born crying. I was born blind, and anger is sin. So that's how a newborn sins. We all sin.
I literally cannot with this. I'm trying to be serious. I'm really trying, but that is such
I
a
am
silly
serious.
concept. Okay, so you seriously
You're cutting
believe?
out real bad.
How do you know
So
babies
you
are
don't
born
believe that
angry?
So you don't believe that newborns are angry? You don't believe that blind babies who are hit out of nowhere is angry?
No, I think they are
Oh,
confused.
wait, you don't
Confusion
believe
is not anger.
what? You wouldn't be angry if you were blind and you were hit on the backside?
I don't think they do that anymore, number
I
one.
don't think they do that, buddy.
Number
Okay,
two,
so
if a
how do they
baby
make
is born
babies
blind,
breathe?
listen to
They
me. No,
don't hit them
listen,
in the
listen, listen,
backside?
listen. I'm gonna start right here. Listen. If a baby is born blind, right? So it's coming out of the wound. It doesn't know that it's blind because it's never seen anything. It can't be angry. It can't. I'm almost now. I'm starting to think this is a joke.
And here's another. Okay, I have another question.
No,
Listen, I have a
no, this is
question
the
for you,
thing.
Michael.
What is wise to God is foolish to men. So you can think it's a joke. You can laugh on. It's fine. I'm fine with that. Maybe it's because of me. You know, people say that I naturally sound funny. I don't know, but I don't take your afterlife as a joke because you're gonna be somewhere for eternity. You can be in the clouds with us, or you could be in the fires with the Lord
I
of
would
all
be
sin.
eternally angry because I would be arguing with you the whole time.
Okay,
No,
listen.
I'm not going to hang out with you. Like, as soon as you well, first of all, you have to be in heaven first. So accept
Oh,
Jesus.
I'm cool. I actually
I'm
wrote an entire
sorry, buddy,
series about
but
not
No,
wanting
I'm
to be
not
in
going to see
heaven.
you in the afterlife then.
There
It's
is no
cool.
afterlife.
You're not going to argue with me.
I'm not sure that this conversation that you're having is very conducive to you going to heaven, Michael. I don't think so.
You're very
But
angry.
that aside,
No, it's fine. It's fine. I have preached the gospel to thousands of people and only seen a few people actually come to Jesus. So that's fine. I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to earn like my salvation. It's earned by the cross, not by
Yeah.
me winning you over. Only God can win you over.
you say
Then why
you
doesn't
preach.
he?
So, excuse me?
Then why doesn't he?
Why doesn't he? I mean, he has the whole eternity to win you over. Just because he haven't done it yet doesn't mean he won't.
Mm.
So I have a question for you. You say
We
you
as
preached. You say you
we
have
as
preached to thousands of people, but only convinced a few. That means that you're not very
yes.
effective at what you're doing. Don't you think God will be upset with you because you haven't done your work very successfully?
No, because God doesn't care for works. He cares about you loving him.
So why are you preaching to thousands of people to convert them if God doesn't care about it? Why do you care about it?
No, God tells you to preach. So he does care, but he cares about you doing the work, not necessarily you
You
being
say the work
successful.
doesn't
God
matter.
is not the
2 sentences
huh?
ago, you say the work doesn't matter. Now you say the work matters. Which one
No,
is it?
it doesn't matter with the personal relationship with God, but you're still supposed to do work for him.
But you're not being successful at your job for God.
Well, there's a difference that there's a difference at doing something and then being successful at something.
Okay,
Like there's
but
a difference between hard
if you
work, productive work.
if you do a job and you get paid for it, it is expected that you do a good job. You're not gonna get paid for doing a shitty job. So why is God gonna reward you with eternal life if you're doing a shitty job?
Well, here's the thing. As a the president of the United States. I don't know where you come from. You know the president
Yes.
of the United States.
Yeah, we are. We're in the United States. I believe Erin is too.
Okay, cool. You sound a bit international. Okay, so the president of the United States, regardless to his job, will still get paid for the next 4 years. That's me. I'm getting paid for the next 4 years, regardless to whether I'm a good president, whether I'm a bad president, whether I'm Trump, whether I'm Obama. And because of my position, I want to be the best. But regardless to what I do, I will still be the president. And because I'm
Okay.
honored, huh?
I mean that is a good comparison because the president that we currently have is doing a very shitty job and he's still getting paid. So yeah, we're in agreement there.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But still, he's the president by the will of God. I'm not saying he's a good guy or a bad guy, but God knew 2,000 years ago that he would be the president. And me personally, I don't like none of the presidents. I think all of them are rapists. Even Obama.
Okay, we're not gonna go there right now. We're not gonna go there. Let's not go there. Let's go back
cool.
to
I'm
your.
not. I'm just keeping
No, that's
it
fine.
real.
I don't want to get political on the show. Yeah,
Huh?
that's fine. So I did have a question. Oh yeah, go ahead, Erin. You go first.
Oh, nothing. I just to go back to my original point, which kicked off a major tangent on all sorts of stuff, is the very fact that God has designed the system of sin and reward and punishment, and is allowing and watching and using suffering as a teaching device, according to you, a teaching device, inspirational advice, device, childhood cancer, as inspiring people to fight cancer that God actually made. There is no way for me to twist any of that story, any of that idea, even if we remove all of the Christianity of it and just take a higher being or a deity that created and designed and set up all this stuff. There is no way to paint that being as a moral or ethical thing. Period. End of story. So my position, where I don't care about sin, I don't care about works, I don't care about sin, I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is other human beings and making sure that they are okay and that I am doing my part, what I can, to make this world, this earth, this place that we know exists right here in this moment better, or at least not make it shittier. So as far as I'm concerned, if there's a God up there who decided that cancer was the way he was going to get his message across, which obviously fails because cancer turned me into an atheist. If that's his way of getting his message, child rape, child starvation, murder, abuse, people living their entire lives in abject poverty and misery. If this is a God that designed and allowed that stuff to happen, he is not worth worshiping. Period. And I don't care if that means that he's a real thing and he's going to send me to hell to burn forever. Fine. I would rather burn forever than worship such a vile entity. And that's really the last point I need to make. I really have nothing else to say to this particular person who started this conversation by apologizing or making excuses for childhood cancer, and death. There is no excuse. There's no justification. That's really that's the last thing I have to say to this caller, period.
Anything else you want to add, Michael, before we cut this one off?
I'd just like to say I don't have to apologize for child cancer. I didn't cause it. Maybe the many cigarette companies that push cigarettes to children can apologize, which we have never banned cigarettes.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
talking
because
about-
9-year-olds are out there smoking chain, like, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Erin
he was 2.
didn't even
He was
say,
2.
Erin,
2.
yeah.
2 when he was
my bad.
diagnosed.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
2.
Erin, we all know, like, all these 1-year-olds are already out there buying, like, packs, right? Yeah. Also,
Well,
you didn't even say
1-year-olds
it was lung cancer.
Smoking.
And why doesn't God just get rid of cigarettes? If that's the answer to getting rid of cancer, why doesn't God just get rid of cigarettes? He could go poof and they'd be all gone. No more cancer. Because he's trying to teach us a lesson. Fuck that guy.
You can't get rid of. Hold on. You can't get rid of cancer. It's just a naturally. It's just a natural process of.
See, what's frustrating is that you're so close. Like you're so close. It's like edging. It really is. It's like edging. It's like you come right up to the point of it, and it's like, ooh, you're almost there, and then you just like run away.
So is it
God
nature
created
or is it God?
Oh,
What? So you said cancer is a natural process. So you're saying that it comes from nature and not from God. What? How does that work?
Well, God set forth nature. God set forth Mother Nature. Like earthquakes are a natural process. He can still cause earthquakes.
But listen, you just said that God cannot listen. You just say that God cannot take away cancer because it's from nature, and so apparently he cannot do anything about things he created. Yet you also said that God uses childhood cancer to inspire the child's parents. So how does he use this thing created by nature that he cannot stop?
Hold on. I want to address 2 things. There's nothing that God can't do. So
you just said he cannot take away cancer.
I never said he can't do that. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, you did say that.
Okay. Then say it. Say it to me. Say it right now. God can. Yes, he can take away cancer. Say it, please. So we are
God
clear.
can take away cancer. And he did it with my Auntie Renee the first time.
Okay, so he chose to kill a 2-year-old with cancer because he cried when he was born. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what 2-year-old or what case you're talking about. So I'm not going to officially.
Erin's nephew. Erin's nephew.
I don't know about.
My nephew was diagnosed at 2 years old with neuroblastoma, which is not caused by any kind of outward thing. It was something he was born with. He spent the next 6 years of his life going through various cancer treatments. By the way, do actually donate to several different cancer charities. And when he died, he had no teeth.
Your nephew?
I'm sorry?
Yes, her nephew.
Would you have
he was asking if he was your nephew. Yeah.
And I got to say, there were prayer circles. It's one of the last times I prayed. All that stuff. Churches, hospitals. His parents weren't assholes. They were religious, actually. Parents were religious. And he died with open wounds. He died with no hair and no teeth. Is that because maybe he was angry when he was born? Is that what it was? Maybe his head was squeezed too tight. I don't know. When he was born, so he was angry. So he was a sinner. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was baptized. I know he was baptized. Actually, his mother was Catholic. So was his father. So tell me what lesson God was trying to teach there. It's fucking vile. What really just incenses me is that you don't see how incredibly disgusting there is. There's no way to twist this into any kind of moral or good thing. There just isn't. And what you
I'm not
keep trying to
saying
do
this
is you
is
keep trying to
better.
lay blame
I'm
on
not saying that.
it's bullshit. I tell you what the
Okay,
fucking answer is. The answer is
okay,
there is no God, there is no heaven, there is no afterlife, there's no fucking souls. All there is right here, right now. If you're wasting your life waiting for fucking clouds, dude, I feel really fucking sorry for you. And if you're apologizing for some deity
my life.
that you worship because
I've
you're
been
hoping he's gonna
several
give you some
because of
special
God.
place
How
in
am I
the
wasting
fucking
my life?
clouds,
Excuse
whatever.
me. You don't know me. You don't know me, Miss.
No, I
You
know
don't know
what you
me.
said.
I went to several
All
because
we
of
know
God.
is what you're
You don't know
saying.
me.
We know
Excuse
what
me.
you're saying, though.
You
You're
know,
saying that God saved your auntie because, I don't know, maybe she prayed well enough, but God did not save a 2-year-old because, I don't know, he cried when he was born, or because
But it's not just that he
he
didn't
was a
save him, it's that
lesson
he went through 6 years of pain before
yeah,
he died.
to inspire his
would
parents.
you have aborted? Would you have aborted him?
Would I have aborted? What
Why
does that have to
would
do with
that?
anything? That has nothing
What
to do
is
with nothing.
okay?
No. Just answer the question. Just answer the question. Would you have aborted him?
Well, it wasn't my
It
kid.
wasn't her child; it's her nephew, her
Okay,
sibling's child.
okay. Let's say that the child was in you and you knew that he would have been born with cancer. Would you have aborted him?
If I had
I
known that
can
my
answer that. I can answer that because my child was diagnosed with a
The question.
listen, because I'm answering your question, so let me answer your question, please, and thank you. My child was diagnosed while I was still pregnant, around 22 weeks, with a potentially fatal condition, and we were offered an abortion. I was pro abortion at the time, but I decided not to because I didn't want to. Because I was like, I'm still willing to have my baby be born, and whatever happens. Okay, did that answer your question? What was your follow up with this? I'm curious. Just
Well, no, you didn't because the question wasn't directed towards you. But why would you give birth to a baby that you know would be in pain and could possibly die? I'm interested.
because I didn't know. Because guess
Wait, you
what?
didn't know? You
Guess what?
100% knew that the
The
baby was
baby.
in pain.
No, I didn't know. No, I was told that it was. It was my choice to either keep the baby or have the abortion. There was no
I like
guarantee.
that you say, hold on. I like that you say it's your choice and not our choice. You did have a husband, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Why
it
does that
wasn't his
matter?
choice. It wasn't his baby. It wasn't his choice. It wasn't his baby. You all
Oh,
aren't half of each
I am
other.
so sorry. Am I hurting your masculinity right now?
No,
You know what?
absolutely
He should
not. My
empathize by
masculinity
pushing a
has
watermelon out of his
nothing to
ass,
do
and then
with
he would know what it
I
fucking
don't know.
felt like. Then maybe he could be in a better position
What
to make that
does
choice.
what does my choice have anything to
No,
do with children suffering? Can we move on?
how come it's not? How come it's not? Uh, how come it's not our choice? It's my choice. How come it's not our choice?
We're
Did
still
you
trying
conceive
to
the baby
talk
by
about
yourself?
why God puts kids in this position in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Let's
that's
focus
what you
for a
keep
second.
dodging.
I understand you have
Why are you-
ADHD. I have ADHD. My brain goes in tangents. So let's stay focused. What is the next step? So
Okay,
you were
not
telling me
I can get that, but I'm just interested in your psychology. How come you don't speak? It was our baby. It was our choice. Did your husband have anything to do with the cancerous baby that you knew would be born in
because
pain?
because he's in the other room and he can answer that question himself. And I don't want to speak for my husband
Bring him
right now.
to the phone. Bring him to the phone. Because I'm sick of
This is
this idea that
no, this
I'm
is a
sick of this
live call-in
idea
show.
that only, excuse me?
I say this is a live call-in show. We cannot just randomly bring another guest. He will have to be a third caller or something.
Bring him.
That's silly, man.
Give him my personal number. Fuck it. I want to talk to him. But I'm just interested in this psychology.
Yeah.
I'm just
No, thank
interested
you.
in this idea that you're your baby's own personal hero for not killing him, even though you knew he was going to be born in pain.
Every single human being that is born is gonna experience pain. Should we abort them all? Should we no longer birth children? Tonsils,
Can you say that again?
having a tooth
I'm sorry,
taken, they're gonna be in pain.
Okay, but your baby would be in extremely more pain since it had cancer. You realize that, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So you knew that you would bring a child in that would be in extremely more pain than average, yet you did it. Why did you do that? Well, why did you
I
all
already
do that?
answered that question, actually. Maybe if you listened for a second, you will hear that I answered that question earlier. My answer, and I'll repeat it because you're clearly not listening, was that I chose to have the baby because medical science is great, all right? They can determine a lot of things. However, the specific conditions that we were facing, which was not cancer, okay, yeah, it's a little bit different. It was a heart condition, and the other one was called trisomy 18, which is not compatible with life. And generally, the babies are already born having passed away. So you're giving birth to a stillborn who's not going to suffer. But so, yes, I did know my baby was going to have a heart condition, but the prognosis was pretty good. With a surgery or two, the baby will be fine. So yes, I chose to put my baby through the surgeries. Surprisingly, it was also what got me out of religion, right? But again, pretty much most people are going to have some type of surgery at some point in their lives, all right? Whether it be, again, it could be ear tubes, it could be laser eye surgery, it could be having teeth extracted, it could be having your tonsils taken out, which normally you have in childhood. There's all kinds. You can have broken bones because our bones are pretty shitty. So yeah, there's lots of suffering that happens to every single human being that is born. And yes, I did choose to put my kid through that. And by the way, my kid is 14 years old now, so the scans were actually wrong, and my kid did not have trisomy 18. So I chose to. I'm pretty sure I made the right choice. I don't regret it, and I don't think my kid hates me for having put them through 2 open heart surgeries either.
I would hate if your kid hates you for allowing him to live. That's horrible. But
so you think my child would prefer to die? You think my child would have preferred to be aborted? Would you? Let me turn this on you. I'll say, do you think my child will prefer to have been aborted?
Well, if your child was aborted, it wouldn't prefer anything. So I don't know.
No,
Would
right
it be
now.
in heaven?
I say right now. I say, do you think my child right now will prefer that I had aborted them so they didn't have to have some surgeries?
I don't know your child, so I wouldn't speculate on that. But I don't want any child to die.
How about you?
But,
If you were born with a heart, your mother knew this and had you, and then you had 2 open heart surgeries, would you hate her and would you demand that she had why the fuck didn't you abort me? Would you be like that or not?
No, I wouldn't. If I wanted to die, I would kill myself, not wish that my mother aborted me. What are you talking about? Like, I don't really get your question. Maybe I'm missing something, because I think if people wanted to die of abortion, then if people want to die, period, they would just kill themselves, not wish oh, I wish my mom aborted me. Like, no, they would just kill themselves. But you're okay with people dying
No,
of
but
their own
you are
hand or
the one.
somebody
You are the
else's.
one that brought up abortion. That's why I'm asking you. I don't know why you brought up abortion, but
Well,
I'm just engaging in your conversation.
well, I'm anti-abortion. I'm anti-abortion and I'm pro-life. And I'm wondering, why would your doctor tell you to kill your kid, well, abort your kid, if he had a treatable heart disease? I'm a little bit confused.
Because it was an option. You ask the question yourself. You ask Erin, would you abort your child if you knew that they were gonna suffer? So you're acting like it is,
Yeah.
an option.
I don't have
And,
an
and
answer.
can I just point out that you brought up abortion
So I don't know
because
why
you're
you're
avoiding answering the question as to why God allows babies who in my belief system are innocent, a 2-year-old. You didn't want to answer the question why the God that you believe in, who's so great, who saved your aunt and your dad, would allow this to happen. That is when you brought up abortion. So, and this has been your tactic the entire time, is as soon as you get nailed down on trying to answer for the ethics and the morality or the lack of your God, you change the subject and you bring up something else. And not only that, but you're also bringing up things that are deliberately enraging. You knew that you were trying to spark a certain answer
reaction.
when you brought up abortion. You knew that you were trying to so if you want to talk about psychology, because frankly, most of what we've been arguing about is semantics and not psychology. But what you have been doing this entire time is avoiding answering the question why the God that you believe in is so great, that created everything, controls everything, can do everything, allows this kind of thing to happen. And what you keep doing is you keep putting the onus of sin and the onus of morality and empathy on human beings, when what we're actually trying to discuss with you and pry out of you, which we failed to do, is to answer why the fuck you would worship such a vile being that has obviously no sense of ethics or morality as us human beings understand it. But that's the question that you just keep avoiding. So that's why abortion was brought up. I don't think you give 2 fucks about what we think about abortion or what we think about Obama or Trump or whether they get paid for doing their work or you doing good works, or whether there's you have avoided every single attempt.
Or what my husband has to say.
Yeah, that's insane. You didn't ask the question of her husband. You asked it of her. And then when she used the wrong pronouns, you got upset. Go fucking figure.
All right, so let's try it again. Here's the question. It's a very clear question, and I want you to answer it, Michael. If God, you said God can listen, you said God can take away cancer, childhood cancer. Why does he not take away childhood cancer?
Well, it's an individual by individual basis, and I can't speak on a whole of millions of cases that I have never really had
We're
contact.
talking about God.
Okay.
We're not talking
Yeah,
about
babies.
individual cases. We're talking about God. And you keep changing the subject because you can't answer the question. Because the only logical answer is that he's a sadistic narcissist.
That he chooses to torture a 2 to 8 year old, a child, that he chooses purposefully, that he knew 2,000 years ago that he was going to torture this 2-year-old for 6 years. That is what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that the 6-year-old died, and I'm very
But God
apologetic.
isn't.
And I'm not trying to
God's
make
not
y'all,
sorry.
hold on. I'm not trying to make y'all mad. You are going to be mad regardless. You were mad to the start of this whole interview or conversation or whatever. and nobody can make you mad. You're making yourself mad. Like, and I don't want to make you mad because, when you're angry, you murder people. And you're pro-abortion.
Erin, you're killing children right now, Erin. Fuck you, Erin. All right, Michael.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
a little bit out of hand. You know what? I don't think we're gonna get an answer out of you. I appreciate.
I tell you
your
what, when I was
call.
mad in the strip club, you know what I used to do? I used to drop gum in people's hair. So with that, dude, I'm like,
Ooh,
I don't
that's a
know.
good one.
It was actually pretty terrible. It's pretty mean. I shouldn't have done that, but I did do it anyway. That's what I did when I was mad. Now I murder people fictionally, but I have to get to the point where I need to take my exit. I'm about an hour and a half away from dinner, and so
Yeah.
the term you're looking for might be, instead of angry, might be hangry. So
That's good. Yeah. You know what? When you have an answer to our question of why God doesn't stop childhood cancer, call back. We listen. All right. Thanks for your call, Michael. Have a good one. Wow. I'm gonna need a drink after this one. Go.
So I know, and I'm waiting for New Year's to have a drink. But I am going to smoke a big fat bowl, which is literally like sitting right here because I am in California. But no, he was doing that on purpose. There's no way he wasn't doing that on purpose. So
there's no way. There's no way.
I think sometimes it's not even. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that I think sometimes they do it like just to get this reaction, and I don't know. I couldn't help but laugh at some points because I was like, "Come on, you're a fucking troll right now."
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say earlier, is that I thought he was a troll, is that I thought he was actually doing that deliberately to say that, but he couldn't. All he did was kept changing the subject on obviously on purpose, and it wasn't even. I wouldn't even say mad is the point. And honestly, when I think about and relate things to my own personal experience, that that does make me angry. But more than anything, I was frustrating because he kept getting really close to getting it, and that's when he got flipped out and started to run away and change the subject, is because he got so close, because he knows that he cannot justify the kind of shit that God does. And if you can't justify what God does in that way, in that moral way, then you can't justify believing in something that orchestrates all that. And the only logical answer after that is that you are loving this God, you're worshiping this God because you believe if you don't, you're going to go to hell. So either you're doing it to get your place into heaven, or you're doing it to avoid hell. Either way, that is not altruistic. It's not humanistic. It's not good. It means you're a fucking asshole. So, and if anybody is in danger of murdering people when they get mad, it's the person that thinks that they can do something really shitty and then ask for forgiveness and still get their place in the fucking clouds.
And he literally said that he himself didn't have empathy, and kind of laughed at us for saying that we do have empathy and that we don't need to experience the death of a child in order to support all of these causes that help reduce the harm, right? Because God clearly is not reducing the harm, so it ends up being up to us, and we are doing the work that he's not doing.
I do think, and I do think in the larger secular community, because we don't have a belief in afterlife and God, I do think that a lot of people, at least and obviously I'm in the activist space or the advocacy space, most people, when they believe that this is here and now and this is it, and you don't believe in an afterlife, then if you do care about people and you do care about humanity, then that is your inspiration to act and to make things better and to make things better for other people. There isn't, I have a bag of my kids' clothes right now that I'm driving around waiting to see, unhoused on the side of the street, because I have brand new t-shirts and sweatshirts. I have a couple of blankets. I have things that I can just give them. And if I give it to Goodwill or I give it to a place, then they would have to go in and buy it. Whereas I know that it's sitting right there. There's nothing in that for me. Well, other than I would like to not have it in my car anymore. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing in that for me. And I don't think that I'm going to go to heaven or not. No, I would rather, that stuff's already been bought and paid for. If somebody else can get use out of it and it's clean and it's good and it's like freaking 50 degrees outside, dude, I'm happy to do that. But it just, his whole thing when you start, like, I don't give a shit about the Bible. I don't care about heaven, hell, souls, any of that. But when you start trying to justify morality and ethics of this deity that obviously doesn't have any, that's when it really, like, that I suppose is my trigger, because it's like, fuck, the guy's a dick, dude, and there's really no way for you to there's no way to justify that without being a dick yourself.
I know.
So
I thought it was extra horrible to come in with that, with what you had just shared about your nephew, and then follow that with as an inspiration for the parents. What the fuck? That's you don't say that. You don't say that shit like that. That's just horrible.
no,
That's
like,
terrible.
seriously, like, what a fucked up thing to say. And I don't think he was listening, for the record. I don't think he was actually paying attention to, like, what I said or whatever. I think he was just using that as you know what I'm saying? I think he took bits and pieces of what he heard, because he was obviously confusing what was going on. But anyway, yeah, that was that was nuts. That was really something.
That was
So
something else. Yeah.
yeah.
I've had quite a few. Like I've had a few calls, right, and shows, but never to this level of wow, like speechlessness. There was just so much to say, but at the same time, like a lot of what the fucks. Anyways, I think we should probably start ending this thing. I do have to thank the Patreons and subscribers, which is scrolling at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Now I can start reading. Thank you to the Patreons: Paul Cammish, Karen Butcher, Logan Fisher, Amanda McLeod, Rion, I know Rion, D. Murphy, Dan D, Michael Wiseman, Sunny Shell, who also hosts on this channel, and Phil Calderone. And also to, okay, that was it. That was all the Patreons. Sorry about that. I thought it was going to come up the YouTube subscribers next time. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, Kelley Laughlin, Logan Fisher, Cynthia McDonald, Infidel, Angela, Stop the Stupidity, and Tons of Mice. And then YouTube members. Okay, that was Kelley Laughlin. Okay, thank you guys. So sorry. I messed that up. But I think I named all the names. So I think hopefully that's okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit at a loss for words on this one. Did you have anything you wanted to say or share, sort of a lesson or something to leave us with on this show?
A lesson? Do I have a lesson? I don't know. Don't be a jerk. My God, how about that? Just don't be a dick.
I like that. Okay, so there's this book.
There you go. Now I'm your life coach.
Yeah, so there's this book by Steve Gickadis. I don't know if you know him. His book is called Humanism from the Heart. I love the book, and yeah, that's one of the lessons of the book. Don't be a dick, and we always joke about that. Just don't be a dick. Don't do a Michael, please. Don't do a Michael. While we appreciate the colors, that type of behavior, yeah, is just not very cool. So yeah, if you want to hear more from us, you can always come back to Skeptic Haven. Let's talk on Sundays at 7 p.m. Central. I should be on sometime next month, I believe. So we'll see. And thank you so much, Erin. It was super fun hosting this with you. I hope to see more of you. And all right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.